Heyo, we're
What
here.
up, homie?
We're back.
We're here. Look, I almost feel like I blend in with the background. Got my shirt, the teal going on. Looks like it blends in.
What? Oh, the show background. I was like,
Yeah, man.
it's the wall is white behind you. I was so confused. Let me move you over to my main screen here. I was like looking off screen.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, look at me.
I feel like I blend more. I feel like I blend more with the background.
You're colorblind. So, he's well, now you do because he changed it.
Yeah. He's got the background roulette going on today. Okay, hey everybody. It's the live episode of Hustle Machine that we do every Wednesday here on the WINJECT channel. And today we released our episode this morning. What?
That's right. Well, I was gonna say intro ourselves. Like,
I'm so
I'm
bad
Zack.
about that.
I'm Zack, and this is Jason. We're co-hosts of the Hustle Machine. We also are co-owners of Market House, website development and marketing agency. And so our attempt with Hustle Machine is to break the hustle culture and crushing the myths that surround the hustle culture. And that's exactly what this topic's about today. Right. So before we get into it, we want to prepare you guys. We want to hear from you guys to share any of your personal experiences with hustle culture, how it's affected you, the good, the bad, the ugly. My screen just moved everything around. That was weird. The good, the bad, the ugly. We want to hear all of it and discuss it. We'll probably share some of our experiences. But we're really excited because we're doing a whole series. Not whole series. I mean, we
made a podcast about it in the last couple episodes.
Yeah, the last two, and we have a couple more that we are passionate about that we want to share. So we're really excited. So we want to hear from you guys. So hop in the conversation. The water's fine. Yeah. Although I will warn you, I'm not feeling good. I feel like I've been hit by a friggin' truck. Like, I feel so bad, but whatever. Yeah, it is what it is.
But you're a hustler. The thing is, you've got a job to be done. Health doesn't matter. Relationships don't matter.
No, I will take it easy today. Just fair warning.
No, it's a segue. It's a segue.
Oh, I see.
Remember?
Oh,
so
see,
we're talking about toxic thinking and hustle culture.
I see.
And with hustle culture,
I see you. You've been working on your segues.
I'm riding my Segway.
Remember what I told you? No. A Segway looks like you're riding a vacuum cleaner backwards. Like that's what.
Yeah, that is a funny image. I'm gonna Photoshop that, just like you standing on a vacuum cleaner.
T-shirt idea. It's a good T-shirt idea.
It's probably like one of the worst, but it's neither here nor there. Anyway, but we're talking about toxic thinking, and you froze. I don't know if it's my internet or yours, but you froze there for a minute. So, anyway, so we are talking about toxic thinking and hustle culture. So, what is hustle culture? Let's break that down. So, hustle culture is the existence that we're in right now that says, you want to make it, you need to work longer hours. You need to work harder than everybody else. You need to let those relationships go. You were going to go meet friends? Forget about it. Your goals about work are more important. Forget about that. You don't feel so great? Go into work.
Do it
Make
anyway.
Everybody else sick because you got stuff to do. No, just take a beat. Take a day. Get better. Let yourself heal. Now, hustle culture says, now forget about that. It's run yourself ragged to the point where you just can't anymore. Like you give out, and you screw up all your relationships and you just destroy everything about your life for the ultimate goal of success. That might not even be there
of winning.
Yeah. So, and there's the whole thing that we talked about this week in the episode that dropped this morning. And that's about shaming within the hustle culture that breeds more of the toxic thinking. Do you want to read that from Chris?
Yeah. So Chris says, personally, the hustle culture grinding for 18 hours a day equated to 2 burnouts and becoming unhealthy because I compromised my health for my wealth. That I want to come to that. It took me over 4 years to instill some different non-negotiables. Yes. And that's exactly what we're talking about is Jason and I have our own experiences with that, which that's actually an episode we're going to be doing in probably a week or two. We'll have those out. But yeah, so that's exactly it. And I've had experiences where I've completely run myself into the ground again, where my health was, or my doctor was looking at me going, "You're too young to have this problem." And I'm like, okay. And I turned it around. But then again, for me, the pendulum always swings one way or the other. I never hit the sweet spot in the middle. I always go either really not far enough or too big. That's why I don't do stunts. You know what I mean? I don't do stunts.
Is that why? Is that why?
That's exactly why.
That's
the only reason why.
Okay.
It's the only reason why I don't do stunts. I do my own stunts in the office, like my own work, but for my next trick.
But what you're saying is you let your toxic hustle culture in places that you worked before or wherever, this even happen in like your own freelance endeavors. Like even when you're solo, you can burn yourself out to the point where you just are laser focused on all of the wrong things. And, you can just destroy your body. And this happened to you.
Yeah. I mean, when you get to a point where your body's literally screaming at you and you got all these warning signs, like, I mean, I'd be candid. Like I had, my central nervous system was freaking out. Like I was getting twitches and I was like all kinds all over my body. And it was due to massive amounts of stress, not setting boundaries to things that I felt like should have been there in place.
Right.
So yeah, it's been something that I've dealt with for a long time, and it's terrifying. You know, it's scary, and that's one of the things we want to talk about in this episode, and where the toxicity, I guess you could say, that song is playing in my head now. Talking about System of a Down.
Yeah.
What we talk about today in this episode that we released this morning, we go specifically on a particular influencer that has shared their story and how they were in the gym by themselves. No one's around, and they were like, everybody who's still in bed, if you're still in bed, you don't want it bad enough, because if you did, you'd be up.
Yeah.
And it's like, what kind of nonsense is that? Like, I know plenty of people who have health issues where they can't do that. So is it, I mean, are you really putting them in a category of saying that you don't want it bad enough? Because if you did, you'd be up doing this.
Yeah. Put that back up, Chris. Yeah. Jinx, you make up.
Go ahead.
It was easy to create bad habits coming from the world of sales and making 300 plus dials a day. Granted, I forged some great skills, but always two sides to the coin. And
good morning. Good morning, Garen. Good morning,
hello.
sir.
Welcome back to the show.
Also, I saw Garen's studio. It's sick. I mean, I look at mine and I'm like, man, I kind of like what I've got going on here. And then I look at Garen's and I'm like, nope. This is garbage. This is garbage. Anyway,
Chris, correct. There's like this weird tipping point, and it's different for everybody else. It's like, how far do I push myself until it becomes unhealthy? And then you're also like, well, okay, what things am I willing to let slide in order to achieve my goals? Like, is it relationships? I forget. I don't need those relationships anymore. It doesn't matter to me. Or like you have like health warning signs because you're just going so hard, and you're getting up early, you're staying up late. You are leveraging every single type of relationship that you can find, and you're just letting your health go to pot. Like it's different. It's different for everybody. And I think you really have to just go, and we talked about this when we were recording the episode that's I think dropping next month for Win Effect with Chris is for me finding that boundary is defining joy. So it's like the whole reason that you have a business or that you're working towards something is to find joy, for me at least. So it's what is my joy? So define what that is. What does that joy look like? What is going to make you happy at the end of the day? Like, why are you doing what you do? And then in pursuit of that, if there's anything that detracts from hitting that goal, then that's probably something there's probably some toxic influence in your life that's causing you to deviate from finding that joy. And yeah, I mean, and you can work in businesses and even have your own business where toxic thinking can run rampant or become a thing. And it doesn't even have to be a defined thing within the culture. Like it doesn't even have to be, or in the like in the structure of the company, it doesn't have to be an expectation, but because of other toxic mindsets that enter the workspace, it spirals. It becomes a thing. It becomes a thing 100%. Where it's like it's a game, right? It becomes this contest, and there's no prizes. There's no prizes. Right. I mean, what is it? Like Chris said earlier, compromise my health for my wealth. Okay, well, sure, that's a prize. Success, that's a prize. But I mean, what do you want?
Well, if you have no time,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, if you have no time to enjoy that, what was the point of it? If everybody else isn't, if you did it for, say, your family, that's a noble thing. But if they're off enjoying your success, your riches,
yeah,
you're missing out on so much, right? And I think I took a pay cut, a massive pay cut one time to get out of it. And I remember telling my wife, I said, trust me, this is the right move. Trust me. Mm-hmm. And it was. And it's got me to where I am today because it freed my mind up. It freed my mind up to be able to take a step back, grow what we're in now. And it was a game changer for me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Don't forget. So we have two things probably should talk about. One, this is a side note. One, happy birthday, Chris. WINJECT.com head honcho. And speaking of honchos, Garen just signed on as the was it creative director? Yeah,
creative director. For WINJECT. So
congratulations
to you two guys. I wish we had that. That would be amazing. Well, you have a stream deck. Why can't you not throw that in there, man? Yeah, I've got the
whole thing. I don't have the audio set up because we never use it, but yeah, gotcha. I do have all those tracks set up over here.
Gotcha. Congratulations, you two. Happy birthday. Well, the next call we have to settle a bet, Mr. Chris Ross.
Yes.
There's got to be the Georgia Bulldogs.
There needs to be full UGA regalia. Right.
That's right. Yeah. Gosh, that was from the first game. That was the first game, right? That was the very first game, and he lost it. So it's been a hot minute. All right, it says here, goes to what I mentioned by being able to buy whatever I wanted, but having to beg for the things I needed because I wasn't present in my relationships. It's true. You could the thing we always say is like, go at your own pace.
Yeah,
you can do it. You can still do it. There's this myth of if you're not doing it, somebody else is doing it before you. There's enough business out there. There's enough fish in the sea for you just to go at the pace you feel comfortable with. And I don't think you have to just drive yourself crazy.
Correct.
Oh, you know what? I didn't know this, but Garen's birthday is on Monday.
What?
And my birthday was the beginning of the month.
Man, I wish I had like a kazoo or like some musical instrument to play right now.
I guess that's May 2nd. So he's not an April birthday, but April's a busy month for us at our house. in our family. Got lots of April birthdays.
I have no musical instruments. They're all downstairs in the kids' playroom.
I like how you looked on the ceiling, like you're gonna find something.
I looked up.
Ceiling.
I looked up over the monitors on the shelf across the room.
Okay.
Yes,
I thought you were like
xylophone.
I usually keep my musical instruments hanging from my ceiling. Whenever I need them, I can just grab them.
So from above.
Yeah. So if anybody has had that experience where you've been in this culture where I've been in work cultures where it's been said to me, we respect family time. Family time is your time.
Yeah.
But then it's the people who don't have family are springboarding above everybody else because they have the time to sit at the office and work longer and accomplish more on their and do all these things. And it's like, yeah, I guess I could do that. But you guys told me family was important. Now you're telling me something. You're showing me something different. You're showing me something opposite of what I'm seeing. And I think to your point about how even an entrepreneur, you can do the same thing because it's hard for you to shut off.
Yeah,
especially if you work from home.
For sure,
it's hard. And we talk about this all the time. How we used to have a commute, so we would get in our car. And we could decompress a little bit. So when we walked in the door, it was like game on. We're ready to go. And we had some time to like maybe listen to an audiobook or podcast or listen to the radio and just be silly and just dance in your car, whatever you want to do. We don't have that time now. So it's like we punch out for the day, we walk out our door and it's like go. And your brain is still engaged in that. So it's hard.
It is hard
for you to disconnect. And I think that you have to, like Chris said, setting those non-negotiables, what are those non-negotiables? Write them down and then commit to them. Whatever they look like for you, do them.
Yeah. For me, it's like little things, I think it's little things to set those boundaries. And I think a great place for people to start, especially if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, or you're working for somebody else and you're working from home, I think one of the great places to start is to stave off that toxic thinking and to get it out is to set time constraints. So that works for me. Doesn't have to be for everybody. I'm probably a bit too rigid on it, but it's like, I like to start my day at a certain time, end my day at a certain time. Within that, I'm working. I'll stop for lunch, go downstairs, have lunch with my wife. And if one of the kids is here, we'll eat together, but then I'm back at work. Right. And then I like to be pretty, consistent about when I'm ending and then I'm done. I might work after they all go to bed. But that again that's my time at that point, and it's so it's, but you're right about the commute thing. Like you don't have that anymore. And I think that's a big thing with the shift for so many people over the last couple of years to working from home. There's no transition. There's no like for me, it was get in the car, drive 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the day and the traffic to get home. And, some days when it was a killer day, I would have no audio, no music, nothing. I would just drive and just sit in my thoughts and think about everything that I did that day, think about things I've got coming up, just to make sure that I'm filing my mental catalog and making sure things are done and making sure that I am checking off those boxes, relieving some of that stress from the daily grind, and then moving into home mode.
My wife calls them closing tabs. That's what she calls it.
For sure. I love tabs.
My brain. And knock them off.
I got too many. I got way too many tabs open. But Chris, finding that division is important. Yeah.
Let's put that comment back up. It says that comes from corporate life. Me being single and a hard charger, I was able to climb ranks faster. But like Zack, I agree. It's like an unspoken requirement and harder for people with families. I agree with you till the very end. Harder with people with families. It is harder, but a lot of people choose for it to not be hard. They choose the career and they're like, well, this is going to be good for my family. But at the end of the day, is it? Is it really that good?
Yeah.
If you are single,
and how long are you willing to let it degrade until you're okay with it, right? So like, how long are you willing to make that sacrifice? And that's something that I believe we talked about in this episode or another one or whatever. But years ago when we were at that conference and that influencer was like, this is what you got to do. You got to sit your wife down and go, you know what? I'm going to be really, really busy over the next couple of years. It's going to affect a lot of things, but you just got to be okay with it for a while. And first of all, we were like, at the time, we were like, oh yeah, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard. And then we were like, wait a second, let's unpack that. No, that is super toxic. And, but if you're going to go that path, like how long are you okay with that? Like, is it literally going to be years? Like, because relationships can't survive that, right? Like you can't, there's a tipping point where it just becomes too much. And I don't think that if you're willing to make those sacrifices, like how do you know where you've gone too far or just far enough? Like how can you be in it with just this go mentality and know when enough is enough? Like how do you know that? I don't think you can.
Yeah. Yeah, it says that Chris says that's so toxic. It's always longer than anticipated.
It is.
Or
facts.
Or it never happens.
Yeah.
Because Jason and I we share this story all the time where I was high-fiving Jason. It was 5 years into our company, and now granted, when we started this company, Market House, we had no idea what we were doing. Which is like most entrepreneurs, they don't have zero clue what they're doing. And then they kind of start getting into it and they go, here's where I need to make the shifts. But I remember that moment where I'm congratulating Jason, like, high five, man, 5 years. Boom. He's like, yeah. Ow, dude. You like slapped me. You Will Smith me.
Take my company's name out your mouth.
Oh man, I wish
that's 3 weeks in a row.
Show.
That's three. That's
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Went for the 3
references now 3 times.
You just had to put it in there.
That is called a hat trick, my friend.
Anyway, no, it's you got to set up those boundaries, and so I think, like I said, that's finding just time breaks, and so knowing that these are the times that I'm actually going to be working and hustling is super important. And I think we talked about this maybe on one of our other lives, is being a good custodian of the time that you have and knowing that like, when I am working 100%, right? Like I'm actually giving 100%. I'm not just, screwing around, not unfocused, whatever it is. And I think you talked about this as well.
Yeah, well, I think this would be a really good episode. Just in general, is like a lot of these influencers, you watch them and they say, I'm working 18 hours a week or 18 hours a day and all that stuff. And then it's like, if we were to sit beside you the entire day and watch that full 18 hours, if you had a video crew that followed you and documented every single minute of those 18 hours, I would guarantee you that a lot of that's unproductive. A lot of that is labeled as you're working hard, but it's not. Like a lot of it's because your brain can't do that. You cannot sustain that. Like you cannot go. What people call working and what I call working is vastly different. Yeah. And you mentioned this on the show as a lady you used to work with talked about how she gave herself to the company and it got her nowhere. Like it made no difference if she were to continue to keep going that way or not. It did not matter. So she made a choice. She's like, you know what? Now I see I'm not going to do that anymore. And
well, she was bordering on burnout. She was coming in early. She was staying late. She was given 150%, not required. Because it really wasn't a toxic culture, not around like the overworking aspect of it, at least. And, but then she was like, she just had this like epiphany moment. She was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, I am hurting myself. I am running ragged. I am just breeding more toxicity. And for what? And as our friend Michael Barber, one of his favorite words he likes to use, it's all for naught. All for naught. Or phrases, all for naught. So,
shout out to Michael Barber. I like that.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah.
Okay, so let's put this up there because I actually was wanting to get to this. For the listeners, what advice would you give people to implement today to avoid toxic hustle culture? Okay, I think the first step is get a pen and paper. You can use a pencil, you can crayon, color pencil, whatever you want to do. And write on the back of an envelope, a napkin, I don't care. But write out what your non-negotiables are. Write out what boundaries, if you could set any boundary, doesn't matter if you're in a position where you can actually set those boundaries or not. What are the boundaries? And if you can, detail them out. Then if you are in a work environment, in a work culture where it does breed hustle culture, toxic hustle culture, if it's breeding that, I think be bold enough to either start making the boundaries yourself and just start doing it, or go to your boss and say, listen, this doesn't work for me. There's a family member that shared a story with me where they said that they hadn't seen their kids awake in 6 or 7 days. Their family. They hadn't seen their family awake in 6 or 7 days.
Wow.
And they were like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So I think that right there is the biggest step. You got to stand up for yourself because these cultures, they don't care. And we say it all the time that there's a sea of bodies behind you that have all fallen off the wagon or are completely burnt out, that they have no more. And I think you got to stand up for you. And if you're an entrepreneur, I think do the same thing. What's up, Nina? I think you got to do it for you.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to say it. No one's going to do it for you. Yeah. No one's going to say it for you. No one's going to set those boundaries for you. They're going to be like, what's that phrase you hate all the times? Like, when you need it, and they say yesterday or whatever.
Oh yeah. When do you need this? Yesterday. Yeah. So that's the word.
They're always good. They're always
not
push
healthy
for you.
Yeah.
Look at that. Nina agrees. She knows what's up.
Hey,
no one's coming to save you.
Here's just to piggyback on this, especially just because of the environments that we came from, where we were managers and department heads. Like, it's even more important, even more vital that you are sticking up for your team, right? So stick up for yourself, but far too many managers just don't stick up for their team, right?
That is 100%.
It's important. It's important that you step in to create that barrier because, I worked places where, managers are, they're just like figures, right? They're just like probably the most productive person in that department, and that's it. But if you are, if you're charged with leading a team, it is your responsibility to take care of them, right?
Check the well-being of them for sure, 100%.
Yeah, and so for like me, like we had a point where our old job, we moved to an open office. Hold on a second, I got this notification popping up. Spam callers drive me crazy. Anyway, so at our old job, I had a team, and we moved to an open office floor plan. And I had some copywriters who just really had a hard time working and focusing in a space where you were on an open floor and there's salespeople right next door. And so I instituted a policy where I had my office as a space for them to go and work. So they had do not disturb days. And so that was, and I put a huge sign on the door. It's like, you literally cannot go in and bother them. If you need something, email them, but they probably are not going to respond today. They'll respond tomorrow. And I gave them that barrier. I didn't ask for that. I just did it. Should I probably have asked in retrospect? Yeah, I should have okayed it with management, but I just put them in my office and made it happen. And
they're under your leadership. They're under your leadership. You know what I mean? I mean, they're under your leadership. And I like what Nina says here. I always protect my team. That's why they stay with me so long.
Yeah,
they know I've got their backs. And that's one of the things that when Jason and I started hiring people on our team, that's one of the things we talked about internally, me and Jason, is like, we know what it's like. We know what it feels like. We know just even asking off time to go and like to take your kid to the doctor was oftentimes pulling teeth, or, hey, my wife can't watch the kids today. I need to stay home today. And it's like, really? And it's like, okay, again, you told me that family culture was number one. That's a lie.
Well, I think with companies, they really want family to be a big thing, but
they make it.
There's a difference between wanting it and actually making it happen, because so many work cultures are focused in the functions of how it's been for the last 100 years or whatever, where it's like where you go to work, you punch a clock, you commute, you do what you need to do, you work hard and you leave, and so I think there's a really hard transition, especially for long established companies and not newer ones. Like newer ones, it's like, hey, you and I, let's start a company. What do we want to do? Yeah. What have we seen go wrong? What do we want to fix? How do we want to build our company? But for companies who are trying to transition, that's a really difficult thing. And it's not something that is a quick change, Yeah.
Put that back up, what Nina just said. She says there's a delicate balance. Some people do take advantage of your support and kindness. Yes. And when we hired our first employee, and we all work remotely, so they're not in a physical office with us, so it's hard to know what they're accomplishing, what they're not accomplishing, what are they, how are they spending their time. I can't manage that. And I had a conversation, speaking of Michael Barber, had a conversation with him, and he said to me, if you try to micromanage and try to obsess how they use their time, it's going to drive you nuts, because you literally can do nothing about it. If they're taking a nap while they're on the clock, you can't do anything about it. Like, you have no proof that that's what's happening. So you can speculate all you want, and then all you're going to spend your time is being a detective trying to figure out. But so yes, people will take advantage of you. They will take advantage of that. But again, what are you doing it for? Are you doing it? You doing it because you care about them. If they abuse it or not, that's on them, and they'll feel guilty if they don't. So, Chris said that's a slippery slope. Could create a culture of sense of entitlement. Yeah, I agree. But I feel like in our culture, in our company, there's been times when we've had people say that their kids are sick, so it's like go spend time with your kids. Because it's easy now, because like again, we work all remotely, so we could easily justify and say, well, just why can't you work and still watch them? I mean, you're at home. So but again, we do tout that family is important, and so we say go spend time with them.
I think what is it?
Nina says, exactly. I always tell them they fire themselves. That's true. You hang yourself on that,
Yeah. I think so one thing we just talked about was leading by example. So whether you're just a regular employee, associate, or whatever, or whether you have a team, I think it's vital to lead by example. So lead by a healthy example. Let me I'll qualify that. But I think another big aspect for how to implement a non-toxic culture is really trying to build community and team within the business. So there's just one thing that we used to do when I was like several companies ago, when we would like give a report for like quarterly meetings and stuff like that. It would always be like we, and so it's literally just the team. And one of the department managers was like, when you're giving the presentation, just always say we. Like, don't say I. Don't point somebody out specifically. Just say we. And that used to always like.
Go ahead.
Used to always irk me. Used to always irk me because like it was like a team project in school where you would there's always one person who always ends up doing more. And so, but that would cause resentment. But I think that there's probably two different ways to look at the same exact situation and see one it's toxic and one it's not toxic. But I think that if you go with like go with the we aspect of team attribution and working together. So like when you guys accomplish something as a team in your company, give a shout out to everybody. You can single people out if they're doing like an amazing job, but approach it as a team. Take attribution as a team. Generate feedback as a team. Like work on that community and team aspect of it to where it's not one person being like, oh yeah, I mean they crushed it, they did everything all by themselves. While that's important sometimes, I think it's also equally important to show camaraderie, community, work together, teamwork within the company, working towards a goal. I just think that I think it's vital because it spreads it out. It doesn't laser focus on somebody's toxic traits that they're getting congratulated for. I don't know if that makes sense. It's a very nebulous thought in my head, but I think trying to go with that we aspect for teamwork is a good approach to combating that toxic hustle culture that we see.
Well, one of the things that when Chris asked, like, what else could listeners do? If you're an influencer, we say this on the podcast. Why don't you preface some of what you're going to say, where it doesn't come across as shaming that because you didn't do it my way doesn't mean that you can't be successful. And that's oftentimes what we see is 4 easy steps, or here's the things you have to do and to be successful. And it's like, well, that worked for you. Great. That's congratulations. And be proud of that. But don't make everybody else feel like crap because they can't do that because of whatever circumstance. You've got 6 kids at home. You can't do those things that person is who doesn't have any kids at all.
We don't hustle shame in this house.
No hustle shame.
We don't hustle shame.
So squash the hustle shame. Like, preface it, man. Just preface it before you say whatever you're about to say. Just add in there, you got to do what works for you.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of self-reflection. It takes a lot of boundaries. It takes a lot of understanding what you can and can't take. So,
there's, that helps. I'll drop this and then I think we can probably end for this week, but we covered this topic of hustle culture, toxic thinking, and how it infects the culture, how it affects you personally, how it affects you, infects and affects. And we discussed this for a couple of weeks at least. And one of the things that we talk about next week is the whole overworking aspect. And I'll leave you this as like a little tease for next week. But one of the things I said is that overworking is not the road to respect. It's the road to ruin. Because overworking is not a contest. Like I'll keep saying that it's not. This whole thing is not a contest. Work is not a contest. Hustle is not a contest. Entrepreneurship, yes, it can be a contest within with other companies and internal goals and stuff like that. But it's not a contest to shame someone else if you feel like they're inferior. Sure. Anybody who's going to do that they're toxic. So. Hopefully we've given some insight this week.
Added value to your day.
Yeah, I would love. I know we've got quite a bit of people listening today and watching, so I would really love to get feedback since we talk about this topic for a couple weeks to come. I would really love to get some feedback on what you did to combat toxic hustle culture where you are. And one topic we're going to talk about in the coming weeks as well is deprogramming the toxic hustle culture. So like leaving a toxic hustle culture to either go to a new business or to start your own, and what you do to deprogram that. Like how do you become a better version of yourself and break free of that toxicity? So
We should play that song. We should play some Toxicity on the way out.
Oh yeah, we should.
Oh, so Nita says one thing. I changed the culture completely. I'm a female chef in a man's world. Yeah, I think you just gotta do what works for you. That's the biggest thing.
Agreed.
So that's it. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna go rest.
Hey, you go take a nap.
Rest. I feel like
you go get arrested, and I'm gonna go take a nap.
Well, I don't know about that. So next week, guys. Later.
See you guys.
Podcast is brought to you by WINJECT Studios. We are an all-in-one educational platform for podcasters that revolutionizes how hosts leverage content to increase engagement with listeners, downloads, and income. We come together to focus on community, collaboration, and collective impact. For more information on how you can interact directly with our hosts, access exclusive live content with offers you can't get anywhere else from our official partners, join our purpose-driven community by visiting www.winject.com. If you're ready to build a career doing what you love, then we're ready to see you there.